Hi, I'm Lynn,
And I'm Paul,
and this is Along
along
the
the way.
Way.
And we're glad to have you with us. And today we have a question from one of our viewers, so thank you very, very much for that.
Yeah, we appreciate the questions. It helps us deal with some of the things that you're interested in.
Exactly. So this question today is, what does a pastor's typical work week look like? And so I'm gonna start with my wife because uh, she's had to live with being a pastor's wife for a long time, and I just kind of like to hear some of her immediate reflection. She hasn't had a chance to think about this, by the way.
No, no. I think it changes over the years. When you first started, you felt like you had to be at the office 24/7, and you quickly learn that doesn't work.
Yep. Not for the job or for the family.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, learning the pace and what's right with you. For us, when we were younger and had the kids at home, Saturday was a day off
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because the kids weren't home from school.
Yep. Yep. Uh, so I think the point that when we started out, I felt like I had to be at the office 24/7. That it just highlights the fact that it does vary. It varies from where you're at in ministry. It varies from pastor to pastor. It varies from church to church. You know what the needs are, what your strengths and weaknesses are as a pastor, even what you have available to you in terms of a secretary or not. Uh,
Well, and in the first few years, you had to work a side job as well.
yes, I did.
So you were full time, but you weren't full time. I mean, you still put in a lot of hours,
Mm-hmm.
but you also had to work a side job.
Yep. And I'm sure many people watching this can identify with that. So I don't. I think the short answer is there's no such thing as a typical work week for a pastor. That being said, there are things that are typical that should be in place just to help you navigate through your work week. One of those is make sure you get your priorities right with your family. Some of that you learn by doing.
I think we touched on that a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about keeping the Sabbath,
Mm-hmm.
making a day that was your day off because God created us
Yep.
to have that rest.
Yep.
And part of that rest is family time and just enjoying one another.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Playing games with the kids and
Yep.
or going on scavenger hunts or
Mm-hmm.
making kites or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep. That's right. And of course, there are things that have to be done in ministry.
Yes.
And some of those are right up your alley, whatever your particular gifts and talents are. Some of them are not, but it's all got to be done. So you want to schedule your time in such a way that, at least for me, I like to try and aim for about 80% of my time being used at what I do best, uh, maximize on my strengths, and about 20% of the time on what needs to be done but I'm not so good at, and
Or you don't really care to do.
or I don't really care to do, and I can't delegate. Because there are some things like that. You know, some things I have to do that I would prefer to delegate if I could. Right now, I can't do that. Other things I can. So it's going to vary on your situation, but it is a matter of prioritizing your time and maximizing your strengths.
And what's best for you? It really comes down to what's
Mm-hmm.
best for you and your family,
Yeah.
and finding that rhythm that works well for you. And of course, each situation, each church might be a different
Yes.
scheduling. I think all of our churches has been a different type of work week.
It really has. And a lot of that depends on the church, the kind of ministries that are going on, and what's required of your time and your energy. So you have to balance it. When you do balance it, make sure that your congregation knows, at least in a pretty solid way, what your typical work week is going to be like, so they know when to find you in the office. They know when it's appropriate to call and when it's not. those kinds of things when it's your day off, and to respect that. So communicating your work week with your congregation is it's helpful to you and it's helpful to them. I don't know. Would there be something else you would want to include in that? A typical work week?
Preparing your sermon is a typical thing.
It is. Yeah.
But what I find interesting with that issue, I mean, you have designated certain hours that you're working on your message. And the secretary isn't to allow calls unless it's an emergency or me.
Yep.
I get to preempt all of that.
Yeah, she gets to preempt that, and so do the elders.
Yes.
Although the secretary will ask the elders if this warrants interrupting me when I'm in sermon preparation time, and and so she'll screen that way. But yeah, the elders, my wife, and my secretary, they can interrupt me during that time.
Right.
So yeah, sermon preparation time, and again, your congregation ought to know when that time is so that they can work around it.
Yeah, and the point I was trying to make is that sometimes people have emergencies, and that interrupts that scheduled time. But God always seems to pull that message together with you, no matter how much time or how little time you have to prepare the message.
It's true. He really does, and I think over the course of time, while you don't want to take God for granted, you also can trust Him that He will be there, because He knows what your work week is. He's established it for you.
Yeah,
So.
and we've met pastors along the way that say, "Oh, I don't know what I'm preaching on," and it's Saturday night, and they don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever the Spirit leads, where's the preparation? Where's the prayer preparation and where's the direction that the Lord is leading you to lead this congregation in?
Right.
But that's getting on a different topic.
It is.
We probably should.
And it is a topic that we'll be hitting down the road.
Yeah.
Sermon preparation and how far in advance, those kinds of things. And but yeah, that's a really good point. So I think the upshot of it is it's going to be unique to you. Keep your schedule flexible enough so that you can be interrupted and you can trust God to meet you in the tight times. Keep it firm enough so that the people in your congregation know what your typical schedule is. So I hope that's helpful. And we'd love to get your responses to that. I'm sure.
And what's your typical work week? What are your schedules? Share it with others, because as this community grows and people leave questions and comments, other people can read those and possibly learn from what you're doing.
Yes.
And it might apply to their situation even more than it applies to our situation.
And that's exactly right. So please do take advantage of the comment section. And if you do have questions, we'll do our very best to answer them quickly and hopefully in a helpful way.
Right. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, pass it along, and share it with others.
Please subscribe.
Yep, help get the word out.
And just a quick reminder as we close out, this is Along the Way, and we exist to help you turn your church around. And what we're doing online is part of it, but if we can come to your place of ministry and be of help to you, you can contact us via our internet presence, and let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do.
It's not just to turn the church around. It's also just to bring it to the next level.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So
we want to be a blessing to you.
All right. This is Lynn.
And this is Paul.
Saying goodbye, and we'll see you along the way.
Yes.